Thank you. Also, I just got a message that they can't hear you. Is your mic on, Chair?
Now it is.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, Chairperson Kunish,
Present.
Vice Chairperson Schaefer,
Present.
Member Yates,
Present.
Member Carson,
Here.
Member Hool.
Present.
We have a quorum.
At this time, any member of the public is allowed to address the Board of Adjustment on any issue within the jurisdiction of the board, except for items scheduled for a public hearing at this meeting. The speaker may have up to 3 minutes to speak. Any persons wishing to address the board must complete a speaker card located at the rear of the library auditorium and deliver it to the clerk prior to this agenda item being called. Pursuant to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, at the conclusion of call to the public, individual members of the board may respond to criticism made by those who have addressed the board and may ask staff to review the matter or may ask that the matter be placed on a future agenda. However, members of the board shall not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. You see that there are no members of the public present. Are there any announcements from staff or the board? Seeing none, I will move on to the next item, approval of minutes. If the board has reviewed the December 23rd, 2024 minutes, I ask if there are any corrections to the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, one correction under item 2, roll call, under absent, Cal Willingham is noted. Cal is no longer with the board.
Are you then making a motion to make that correction?
I'll make a motion to make that correction.
Is there a second?
Second.
Given that there is a second, with a motion to correct the minutes from the previous meeting regarding Cal Wellahan's presence, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Member Hool,
Yes.
Member Yates,
Yes.
Member Carson,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Schaefer,
Yes.
Chairperson Kunish.
Yes. It passes. This evening, there are no public hearing items, so we will move on to action items. There are 2 action items on today's agenda. The first item, amend bylaws to align with Chapter 13 Town Code Update, consideration and possible action to approve.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair. Planner Brittany Cleveland and I will be tag teaming this item for you. She's the resident expert, has been working on the bylaws and has conversed with our paralegal to make sure that we were on top of everything. The item before you is basically, well, I don't know if I'd call it a cleanup, but it's a result of the Chapter 13 update, the zoning code ordinance. There were some tweaks, some changes that were made, as you've seen in your staff report and the bylaws. Some things were, to put it mildly, changed in your membership requirements, as well as the bylaw, the election procedures. So I'd like to just go through some of the highlights for you. And if you have specific questions, Brittany and I'd be glad to respond to those for you. Basically, the application before you is from the town of Prescott Valley. We're actually looking to update everything as we've done with other boards, including Planning Zoning Commission, Library Board, et cetera. They've all updated their bylaws to reflect not only the town code changes, but also some state law changes that have been made. So basically, the town code 1313-020 F deals with the Board of Adjustments and some of the responsibilities. Some of the highlights are, number 1, the zoning administrator will be an ex officio member of your board, a non-voting member, but also a member of the board. It talks about, the changes talk about establishment and membership. The council will appoint the board composed of 5 residents of the town for 3-year terms. Now, previously, The code talked about commissioners from specific zones. That's been broadened to be town-wide now, so you don't have to be from a specific zone. So that was part of the update. The chair and vice chair selections, this was a little bit different. You will elect, the Board of Adjustment will elect its own chair and vice chair from its membership, each of whom will serve for a period of 1 year from the date of the election. Upon expiration of the term of the office of the chair, or in any event where the office shall become vacant, the vice chair would assume that role and automatically become chair, and an election would be held for the vice chair. So there's a succession that goes on there. It's a 1-year time period. Appeals to the Board of Adjustment may be taken by any person, aggrieved by any officer, department, board, or bureau of the town affected by a decision of the zoning administrator. And the zoning administrator is the Development Services Director, as you know. So the updates talk a little bit about what the board is authorized to do and what the board is not authorized to do. And so I kind of go through those bullet points with you, and if you have any questions, we'll respond to them subsequent to that. So first of all, the board is here to decide if any error is made in an order, requirement, or decision of the zoning administrator in the enforcement of this chapter. The board may reverse or affirm wholly or partially or modify the order or decision appealed and make such order or decision as ought to be made according to the board's decision. The board will also interpret the chapter when the meaning of any word, phrase, or section is in doubt, and where doubt exists as to whether a non-listed use is similar enough to listed uses as to clearly have been intended to be included in the zone, either as a permitted use or as a conditional use. The board is authorized to hear and decide appeals for variances from the terms of this chapter only if, because of special circumstances applicable to the property, including its size, shape, topography, location, or surrounding, the strict application of the chapter shall deprive the property owner of their use of their property. Any variance granted is subject to the conditions as will assure that the adjustment authorized shall not constitute a grant of special privileges inconsistent with the limitations upon other properties in the vicinity and the zone where the property is located. The board is also authorized to determine the location of a zone boundary where there's a doubt as to where that boundary lies in location to the map. The Board of Adjustments may also modify the zoning administrator's requirements in instances where use is conditional upon certain stipulations by the zoning administrator. And in addition, the Board of Adjustment may hear and determine appeals from notices to abate public nuisances under Town Code 19-04A, junked motor vehicles, and from notices of intent to abate nuisances and remove vehicles under the Town Code 11-04, abandoned vehicles. So that's kind of what the Board of Adjustments is allowed to do. The Board of Adjustments may not make changes in the uses permitted in any zoning classification or zoning district, make any changes in the terms of the chapter, provided the restriction in this subparagraph shall not affect the authority to grant variances pursuant to this section. And the board may grant the variance of special circumstances applicable to the property or self-imposed by the property owner. One of the things that was also added is a variance for a specific development scheme shall expire if the permits are not obtained and work is not begun within 6 months. So that's the statute timeline, if you will, for that 6 months. After the variance is granted or if construction is not diligently pursued, unless a period longer than 6 months is granted or an extension comes before you and is secured by the zoning administrator or on appeal to the Board of Adjustments. So those are just some of the highlights of what the changes are. And in walking in to the meeting, I spoke with Commissioner Schaefer about special use permits. In the past, you were tasked, you were tasked with special use permits, and on several occasions, we had a full house, and there was some pressure on you to make those, because you're a semi-judicial body, to make those recommendations and make the final determination on special use permits. So that's kind of been moved in our zoning code update. It's now part of a conditional use permit that goes to the zoning administrator or the development services director, who makes an administrative decision on that, and that itself can be appealed to the board. So you would have some authority to review and actually reverse something the zoning administrator had done in that respect. So those are the major changes. You've received in your packet a clean copy as well as a red line copy where you can see what the changes were, where they were made, how some of those things affect your ability to make your decisions. That's about all I had, unless you have specific questions that we'd be glad to respond to.
Does any member of the board have any questions for Mr. Ruby?
Just one quick comment, Mr. Ruby. Thank you for clarifying the use permit issue. That was on my list of questions as well. I notice under election of officers, there's a secretary listed.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that a member of the board or a member of staff?
That is correct, Member Carson. It could be a member of your board or in the past, and as you see today, we have a staff member that's filling that capacity. So that's entirely up to the board if you would like to continue that or bring it internal to your board.
Also, there's a listing under annual meeting. Since this is the first meeting held this year, is this going to be the annual meeting, or will that occur next month?
No, I believe today was intended, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Drake, you were going to do your election today, so that would be our annual meeting.
Okay, there was to be an update from staff on things happened last year and things forecast to happen this year. Is that happening tonight?
No, it's not, just the election was
Okay.
scheduled for tonight after your bylaw amendment vote.
Since it's up to the board to determine where the secretary is going to be placed, I'm going to suggest that it be continued as it has in the past as a member of staff. That was all my questions, comments.
Does any member of the board have any additional questions for Mr. Ruby? Seeing none, the chair will now entertain a motion regarding the acceptance of the modifications to the bylaws of the Board of Adjustment.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the changes to the bylaws with the clarification that the secretary will be a member of the town staff.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I now ask for a roll call vote.
Member Yates?
Yes.
Member Carson?
Yes.
Member Hool?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Schaefer?
Yes.
Chairperson Kunish?
Yes. The motion passes to accept the changes to the bylaws of the Board of Adjustment with the provision that the secretary be a member of staff. Moving now to the second action item on tonight's agenda, the election of vice chair pursuant to Town Code Section 13-13020D, chair and vice chair selection. The Board of Adjustment shall elect its own chair and vice chair from its membership, each of whom shall serve for a period of 1 year from date of election. Upon the expiration of the term of office of the chair, or in any event where the office shall become vacant, the vice chair shall automatically become chair, and an election shall be held for the office of vice chair. We'll be moving forward now with the election of the vice chair. Based upon that, I would like to make a motion that Michael Carson be elected the vice chair of the board. Do I have a second?
I second.
May we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Hool,
Yes.
Member Carson,
Yes.
Member Yates,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Schaefer,
Yes.
Chairperson Kunish.
Yes. The motion passes to make Mr. Carson the vice chair of the Board of Adjustment. If there are no further action items on the agenda, I will then move for adjournment of tonight's meeting. All those in favor, aye. All those opposed, nay.
Let me second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, thank you. And with that being seconded, all those in favor, aye. All opposed, nay.
Aye.
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 Motion passes. And tonight's meeting is now over. Mr.